Okay, so welcome to part 7. The reason why I'm doing more videos today because the reason why I'm doing more videos this week because I'm doing a lot of assignments I have to read for you guys. So yeah, just to let you know that I just to tell you know that I you know that why I've been uploading so much. It's for my documents I have to read. I need to put it on video. So yeah, it usually takes like a lot of time. So yeah, it'll be an hour long to see me talking about this. So, all right, let's just talk about this. Nature of science explanation. I used to be in Miss Shireman's class, but I transferred to Mr. Burton. Yeah. What do you think this? What do you think the cartoonist was trying to communicate? They were working on the car that's been shut down or broken down or something like that. It's either possessed by a demon or air intake valve is clogged. It's almost impossible to tell the difference without taking it all apart. What do you think personally think it's cause of a problem of a car's problem? Why wouldn't a mechanic really think it's a demon? Because it's not really a demon, duh. Limits. Okay, this is a car that's been receiving gas. A mechanic can only correct a mechanical law, a mechanical flaw. No way of seeing a demon cannot fix or getting rid of one. To the owner, the demon may be causing an intake flow problem. Does not know if demons exist because they are not measurable. Mechanic can only deal with material measurable things to the engine. The owner's beliefs are not of concern to the mechanic. A natural cause which explains the naturally occurring event. So this is what usually happens all the time. Science has limits. It can only deal with that which is natural. What can be either directly or indirectly using instruments perceived through the senses. If it cannot be currently perceived by the senses, it cannot currently be dealt with by science. Does not exclude observations of evidence of unseen events. Much of science involves inferences based on observed circumstantial evidence, especially if these come from multiple independent fields of study, etc., and reconstruction of extant ecosystems and the creatures of fossils from fossils collected in the associated geology. Boundaries. All right, so this is the HIV, looks like the COVID, hepatitis B, an Ebola virus, an endonovirus, influenza, and bacteriophagy, where I don't know if that's how you say that, but okay. All right, the history of science has been concerned with pushing back the boundaries of imperceptible, imperceptible, inventing new instruments, allowing the scientist's brain to be able to perceive something that they weren't able to before. Viruses one time thought to be evil spirits now are thought to be protein wrapped genetic material. All right, so this was from Biology 1. Okay, so checklist, sunsets, soul, and senses. From each item listed below in Group A, indicate with an X in an appropriate box which items can be investigated by science and which items cannot. Do not do Group B items yet. When your teachers tell you when your teacher tells you to, indicate with an X an appropriate box which senses you could use to investigate those items that are listed um, below in the Group B. Leads class in sharing what items were checked in can column, what were checked and cannot column, asking for reasons which cannot identify or what cannot or identify or something like that. Okay, so we have Group A items, which is earthquakes, viruses and angels and cells and flying carpets and stars. Sciences versus sciences not. Use the strips of a paper that your table groups and arrange it into categories. One that lists what science is and what that lists what science is not. Once done, have an instructor initial the Sunset Soul and Senses worksheet. Take a picture of your categories and send it to an It's Learning message. After they are done, go over the two categories together in class. Science is limited. Science is limited to a natural world. Build upon testable predictions based on experimentation, open to change, disprovable, objective. All right, let me start over. Limited to the natural world. Built upon testable predictions, based on experimentation, open to change, disprovable, objective, a search for understanding, observable, testable, measurable, repeatable, and biased. Science is not rigid, based on belief, based on faith, based on authority, decided by debate or law. A search for truth certain, fair, able to solve all problems for a collection of facts, democratic and absolute. What are ways to distinguish between science and pseudoscience? The Kool-Aid contains 100% irrefutable truth. Don't think, just drink. Okay. It says science follows the evidence wherever it leads. Embraces criticism. Use precise terminology with clear definitions. Claims are conservative and tentative. Properly considers all evidence and arguments. Uses rigorous and repeatable methods. Engages with peers and community. Follows careful and valid logic. Changes with new evidence. Pseudoscience starts with a conclusion, then words backwards to confirm, hostile to criticism, uses value jargon to confuse and evade, grandiose claims that go beyond the evidence, cherry picks only favorable evidence, relies on testimonials or weak evidence, or testimonials that can take weak evidence for excuse, uses flawed methods on repeatable results, lone mavericks working in isolation, uses inconsistent and invalid logic, dogmatic and unyielding. Nature science schools develop explanations based on reproducible data and observations gathered during laboratory investigations. Clearly communicate with their ideas and results of investigations verbally and in written form and using tables, graphs, and diagrams and photographs. Explain the body of scientific knowledge is organized into major theories, which are derived from and supported by the results of many experiments and allow us to make testable predictions. I rather just do diagrams because diagrams is just more easier. Or tables that can be recognized as all above. Recognize that new scientific discoveries often lead to evaluation of previously accepted scientific knowledge and of commonly held ideas. Scientific method. The common steps scientists apply to gather information and answer questions. Determine the problem. Make a hypothesis, test your hypothesis, analyze your results, and draw conclusions. This common step scientists this common can also precede scientists can also precede other information for observation as well. To look at it or something, to 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 scrutinize something and take a note out of it, and scrutinize the case of a scientific method and observations should be written down. A conclusion based on observations, which is inference. Hypothesis is a testable answer from a question or a problem, usually not a random guess. Experiment, test the hypothesis. Control, the standard where all conditions are kept the same. Experimental group, the group that is being tested, changed. A dependent variable, the one condition that is changed. Dependent variable, the change that is a result to of the IDV. The scientific method is an ongoing process. Alright, develop general theories. General theories must be consistent with most or all available data with other current theories. Make observations. What do I see in nature? This can be one from one's own experiences, thoughts, or reading. Thinking of interesting questions. Why does that pattern occur? Refine, alter, expand, or reject hypotheses. All right, formulate hypothesis. What are the general causes of phenomenon I am wondering about? Develop testable predictions. If my hypothesis is correct, then I expect is A, B, or C. Gather data to test predictions. Relevant data can come from the literature, new observations, or formal experiments throughout. Testing requires replication to verify results. Law versus theory. All right, so law versus theory. Theory. All right, hypothesis, prediction, and experiment observation goes left and right, and right down and up left, and results in a body of knowledge that is used to form a theory, explanation, and a law of summary, which is left, and the theory is just actually right. All right, scientific theory. Biology has more of these. Explain how nature works. Scientific law. Chemistry and physics have more of these. Describes what nature does under certain conditions, usually with mathematical formula, both theory and law. Tested hypothesis, supported by a large amount of data, helps unify the field study, can be modified even if one peer-reviewed experiment produces data and showing disagreement. Widely accepted by the vast majority, if not all, scientists within the discipline, which is all theory, which is chemistry in all science labs can be predicted by ingredients that can be predicted by can be predicted by the law or the theory. If like for example, if I do my lab outside, then the neighbors can call the cops on me, which is a scientific law. So that can be the same. All right, so this is the English. That was from English 8 from Central Middle School. I enjoyed that school so far. Brothers in Arms timeline by Harry Mayer. All right, chapter 1. Chapter 1. All right, so chapter 1. Martin Luna, a troubled high school student, is with his friends when somebody drives by and shoots his brother Hero, and they can't wake him up. He's hanging out with Chaco when his brother's Hero is shot and killed. Chapter 2. Martin joins a gang, and his mom doesn't like it, so she decides that they will move. They will move to a new neighborhood where he will attend Blue Fort High, which is a Blue Fort High School. Chapter 3. Martin moves into his new neighborhood and will be going to school at Blue Fort High. because his mom wants him out of his gang. Martin is unhappy at Blueford and meets Eric, who is friendly. Chapter 5. Martin skips school to go visit Hero's grave. Finds out shot that was meant to be shot at Frankie. Chapter 6. Martin and Vicki read each other's essays, and P.E. Steve takes the basketball away from Martin. Well, that's kind of mean. It really is mean. Chapter 7. Steve stole the ball from Martin, and then Martin blocks Steve's shot. Locking to the locker room, Steve shoves Martin and hits Steve in the jaw. Right, chapter 8. Martin has nightmares about Hero's death. During detention, Martin was about to punch Mr. Mitchell. Ooh. Chapter 9. Vicki and Martin has a very long conversation. They have a very long conversation about explaining each other, about the situation that's been taking place. Mr. Mitchell gave Martin an A on his hero essay about Huero. Chapter 10. Martin stops Steve's group for fighting with Frankie's gang. He stands up to Frankie and gets out of the game. Our timeline. All right, so chapter 1 is Martin Luna, a troubled high school student, is with his friends when somebody drives by and shoots his brother Hero, and they can't wake him up. He's hanging out with the Chaco when his brother Hero is shot and killed. All right, chapter 2. Martin joins the gang, and his mom doesn't like it. So she decides that they will move to a new neighborhood where he will attend Blueford High School. Martin moves into his new neighborhood and will be going to his school at Blueford High. Okay, so I'm going to be reading about Kurt Cobain, which is made by Holly. I'm going to give her a shout out. All right, so this is what, dude. This guy reminds me of that GTA San Andreas that I saw. It ain't gonna be like, oh come on sunshine, don't stop. Come on sunshine. Oh, you in a bloody you in a bloody way Yankee. Oh wanker, you in a bloody way Yank. Oh you bloody Yank. Yeah, that's definitely him right there. But he's actually playing a guitar right now. He's actually a singer. Biography. This is him right there. Wait, is that a cigarette? Is that a cigarette, bro? Dude, what is that? Born February 20th, 1967, died April 5th, 1994. He really died? Dang. Known as a leader and member of Nirvana. Birthplace, Aberdeen, Washington. Known struggles, depression, heroin, issues with marriage. Was known as top 100 best songwriters, metal singers, and musicians. Police report. Couple rules of 35mm film. Backup evidence photos from a death scene were never processed. Note recovered for the scene was examined by the Washington State Patrol Forensic Document Examiner. Concluded that most was written by Cobain. Suicide was found. Heroin stash was also found. Courtney Love, singer-songwriter, leader of the band Hole, worked as an actress, married to Kurt for 2 years. Theories. Tom Grant quotes for a case outline. It appears this was not the first attempt on Cobain's life by Courtney's Love. However, it was obviously the first to succeed. Kurt was in a process of leaving Seattle and his wife Courtney when he was found dead. One of Kurt's credit cards was missing, and when his body was discovered, a shotgun found at the scene of purchase before Cobain left for rehab in Los Angeles. Not after, after he fled in the rehab, as reported in misinformed media sources. A shotgun was fully loaded with free cells. It was purchased and loaded to protection, not suicidal. The police claimed there were no legible fingerprints on the shotgun. The note found at the scene by the police was immediately found and labeled as a suicide note. The police report states it was apparently written by Cobain to his wife and his daughter, explaining why he had killed himself. My theory, my personal thought on what happened is I think Courtney loved playing a large part, and maybe even their house nanny. And the people defending Courtney Love were motivated by profit, and there's definitely a different story than we had received. So this is Hallie's theory. So next assignment. Oh, that was for airspace science. Oh, I don't think airspace science does that. I don't know what Miss Sharman was thinking, but okay. So this is the creation myth for Lottie. All right, Egyptian creation myth. The creation myth is recounted in the sacred hieroglyphic writings found on pyramids, temples, tombs, and sheets of papyrus. These writings describe how the earth was created out of the chaos by the god Autumn. The earth was seen on a sacred landscape, a reflection of the sky world where the gods resided. I was just kidding about that, Charmin. You're good. Japanese Shinto creation myth. In Japanese mythology, the Japanese creation myth, Chenshi Kaibyaku, literally creation the heaven of an earth, is the story that describes the legendary birth of the celestial and creative world, the birth of the first gods and the first of the Japanese archipelago. Hawaiian creation myth. Creation. One Hawaiian creation myth is embodied in the Kamulipo, an epic chant linking the ally or Hawaiian royalty to the gods. And Kamulipo is divided into two sections: night or po, and day or owl, with the former corresponding to the divinity and the latter corresponding to mankind. Sources, notes, and section. Egyptian creation myth and Japanese Shinto creation myth, Hawaiian, and Google. All right, so this is Black Dahlia. Oh, Dahlia, Black Dahlia, Elizabeth mugshot for September 23rd, 1943. It's from Jacob Rubel. Jacob, do you mind if I put you on video? I don't mind. Yeah. Introduction. Picture of Elizabeth from the crime scene. Elizabeth was on her way to become a Hollywood star. January 15th, 1947, a local housewife named Betty Bersinger. While Betty walked along a sidewalk, she noticed something white among the weeds. It seemed like an odd object thrown away. And it was even a stranger that the mannequin had been separated into halves. Upon closer inspection, she realized that the mannequin was not a mannequin at all. It was actually a woman who has been served in half or severed in half. Like, Elizabeth didn't have many friends and didn't have any enemies. So who really did kill Elizabeth, or who will it ever be solved? Biography of the victim. The picture of the Biltmore Hotel. Um, if something is like really serious, then I might blur it out just in case somebody wants to tell me that. Elizabeth Short was born on July 29th, 1924. She died on January 15th, 1947. She was born in Hyde Park, Massachusetts, and wanted to become a Hollywood actor. Elizabeth had her only run-in with the law during this time on September 23rd, 1943. At one point, Elizabeth did housework for a French family, but she did continue the party on her old dating habits. Mainly saw Elizabeth last. She was making phone calls in the hotel lobby of Biltmore Hotel overlooking Pershing Square, Los Angeles. Suspect biography: Mark Hansen. Mark Hansen had known Elizabeth Short while since she was in Angeles. He owned a nightclub and a theater. Hansen let Elizabeth live at his home on multiple occasions between May and October of 1946. Mark Hansen was the one of the last people to talk to Elizabeth Short before she disappeared on January 9th, 1947. Hansen was never changed with any crime. He passed away in 1964 natural causes. Suspect biography, which is George Hodel. Suspect 2. Dr. George Hodel was a very odd and bad doctor. Hodel has been accused of molesting his 14-year-old daughter, Tamar Hodel. They were three witnesses that testified at trial. They had been seen Hodel having sex with his daughter. Molestation cause led with the LAPD to include the Hodel in the suspect list for Black Dahlia case. LAPD put 2 microphones in his home. For the most part, a transcript was dull, but then they heard screams at the hotel said, "Supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia." They could prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary anymore because she's dead. In 2003, Steve Hodel, George Hodel's son, published the book Black Dahlia's Avenger, a genius for murder. In the book, he claims that his father has committed in Black Dahlia murder and other unsolved murders at the time. Hypothesis resolution. My conclusion is that this murder case will never be fully solved. The list of suspects, I think most likely, or lack of evidence for everyone else, the suspect is Dr. George Hodel. There is a recording of him saying, "Supposing I did, I did kill the Black Dahlia." They could prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary anymore because she's dead. The statement is very suspicious, obviously, but out of all other suspects, just this statement put Hodel on the front of a list. York City, all of those links. All right, so hypothesis: American Mysteries, January 25th to January 29th. All right, so what is a hypothesis? Why do you need a hypothesis for your research papers? A definition, a supposition, or proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. It can be displayed in the form of an if then because statement or I think because statement, or you can choose ever you want. If the thing that we believe we know is that is based on research, and then for resolve that is potentially happened, or because explanation why you came to the conclusion you did. It can be all those things that can be above. Example: if George Mallory's body was found on the foot of a northeast ridge on an empty mountain Everest, then Andrews Irvine's body must also be located in that general area. Because the evidence found upon the discovery of Mallory's remains indicates that Mallory and Irvine were tethered together by a rope prior to their disappearance. I think the statement of the fact that you believe is actually true, because explains why you believe that the fact is actually true. I mean, the same thing. George Mallory and Andrew Irvine made it to Mount Everest's summit before the untimely deaths. Like 2 people were dying, all that because the evidence found on George Mallory's remains indicates the equipment necessary to submit at the appropriate time was missing and therefore had been discarded prior in Mallory's 300-minute fall. Right. Now it's your turn to make your own hypothesis about your cases. If you have already made a hypothesis, review what you what you have written to see how your matches up to these examples. Okay, so economic and demographic changes by Emmy and Lucas. Right, so who faced well financially during this time of westward expansion? The Louisiana Purchase promoted people to move to the west. The U.S. government was a big reason why the westward expansion happened since they created the Homestead Act. Homestead Act transferred more than 270 million acres of the public lands into private lands, or private hands. The greatest contributor to the development of the West was a railroad eager to promote trade and transportation. So they were like doing this is what that picture represents about. So that's why it's all about be love. Who did not do well? Financially, during this time of the westward expansion, all the farmers worked in the land and made a living out of it. They contributed a very small amount financially to the westward expansion. Sorry about that. Right. Average citizens did not contribute towards the westward expansion unless they actually moved here. How much did the westward population increase from 1880 to 90? Percentage. Nearly 7 million Americans moved to westward, which was about 40% of the nation's population. So this is what it actually looks like, and this is what the population density in the United States of America. Westward expansion of 1940. The 1872 Yellowstone National Park is dedicated as the nation's first national park by President Ulysses S. Grant. This is all the transcontinental. This is like transcontinental railroad, like a transcontinental, like all but for 1962. Which current states gained statehood between 1876 and 1896? Colorado, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Washington, Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah. Did cities grow up during this time? If so, by how much? Many southern cities began to grow due to the ease of the transportation thanks to the railroad. Some of the cities were born thanks to western expansion. Without the expansion, some of the cities we have today wouldn't exist today. So that's what these cities were made out. Evaluate and describe new significance significance of Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, and San Francisco. So we started with Chicago and St. Louis and Kansas City and San Francisco soon become a keystone this transitioning community because of the westward expansion. This expansion was the first externally stimulated factor that contributed to growth. Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, San Francisco at the time were near the western frontiers, were near the beneficiary of the eastern states expansion. Describe what was happening in the Utah Territory around 1886. Why was it significant? Disputes between the dominant Norman community and the federal government delayed the Utah's submission as a state. Only after the outlawing of polygamy was it admitted at the 45th in 1986. Polygamy is having more than one life is something that morons do. I don't know if it says morons or not, but what does it say? I mean, what does it say? Or mornings? I thought it said morons for a second, but I looked it up and said it didn't say. Okay, so works studied where works that many cities can prepare for all of it can be seen. How much time do like Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City and St. Francisco can pay that much rent, or or reach up for more goals for that. There's all the links. I could probably click on one right now, but I don't want to. I'm just gonna say that one for the other part in the future. So probably like in March or something. Not really sure, but hopefully, um, I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys in part 8.